Okay, today I want to talk about my pick of Alabama to win the national championship and why it's not looking so good. And all that's coming up after the bumper.
Don't be cornering me. Hold up. Time. You gotta help me with that corner shit.
What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. It's always college football related, sports related. We have a good time. I want to talk about my January 2020 pick that Alabama will win the 2021 or 20 national championship, like for the 2020 season. And that was before COVID, right? And that was before a whole hell of a lot of other things had occurred. And this has been sort of a newsy Thursday. First, I want to talk about how that Alabama pick stacks up against Ohio State. And yeah, I want to get into that at some length, but I also want to invite you to download the RJ Young Show podcast, wherever it is you get your podcast. And I got a special treat coming up for you, not just this Saturday, where we get to talk with Michael Bishop, as in the original Cam Newton, OG, triple OG Cam Newton. That is Michael Bishop. But the next Saturday, oh my goodness, Buckeyes fans, y'all are going to like this one. I know you're going to like this one. I was excited about this one. So download the RJ Young Show podcast, wherever it is you get your podcast. Leave us a 5-star review. If you leave us a 5-star review and you write a review that is a question or a positive review, I will read it on the live show when we do those Mondays and Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Now, there's been a lot that's going on here. Like, we got the MAC trying to play football. We got the Pac-12 trying to play football, and that actually might happen by the end of October. We also had South Carolina announce starting quarterback is going to be Colin Hill, who's coming from Colorado State. 2018 passes for 3,000 yards, has to miss most of last season with a blown knee against Arkansas. And he comes in with the long hair. It beats out Ryan Alinsky as the starting quarterback. Also added that Mike Bobo, who was the head coach at Colorado State's offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach at South Carolina. So I'm very interested to see how this goes. Ryan Alinsky wasn't terrible in his true freshman year. I thought he was pretty good. I thought he actually looked good against Bama for all that it's worth. And I thought that it was interesting that Kirby Smart decided that it was a game time decision for who's going to be his starting quarterback, whether it be JT Daniels or Dwan Mathis. I would expect to see both, but I would not be surprised to find out that he just picks the 5-star quarterback ahead of the dude that can do something with both his legs and his feet. I wonder how much Todd Monken's going to have to say about this, because that's also going to be interesting. In a year where I expect the strength of that football team offensively to still be running the football, even as they lose 3 starters on the offensive line, because I know who they have in a way that I don't know what LSU has. But one's in the East, one's in the West. We'll see if they meet up once again in the SEC championship. We also need to acknowledge that the NCAA has extended the dead period through December 31st. That is the entirety of anybody's college football season, and leaves in tremendous doubt the early signing period. Like, I can't see them having an early signing period. Matter of fact, I would say you nix it for this year and you make everything February. But that also would mean you only got 6 weeks to get in a host of official visits. And I don't see how you're going to be able to do all of those things. It's also leaving up in the air decisions for guys like JT Tuimoloau, Emeka Egbuka, Xavier Sori, Small Munden, and on it goes, right? Some of these guys we think of as leans, and I talked about this on the RJ Young Show podcast. You should download it. You can listen and put up the clips throughout the week. But if you want the whole thing and you want to not wait for it, that's the place to go get it. But with the Big Ten returning to football, starting the weekend of October 24th, Ohio State's playing. And Ohio State is everybody's pick to win the Big Ten championship, right? Knowing that Dylan McCaffrey went into the transfer portal after his parents stumped for Michigan to be able to play football is funny, but also makes sense in that Ed McCaffrey is now the head coach at Northern Arizona. Maybe his kid wants to transfer there. Either way, he has 2 years of eligibility, and they're probably going to have to go with Joe Milton as their starting quarterback, who's got a cannon for an arm, but I have questions about accuracy. You also look around, you see James Franklin and Penn State, who have not been recruiting to the standard that they are used to recruiting at. We'll see if they can finish strong in 2021. I don't think Micah Parsons is going to come walking through that door in Happy Valley. Minnesota feels good. They got Tanner Morgan. They want to try to make a run at this thing in the West. Wisconsin has to feel great. We're going to get to see what their new tailback looks like. Jalen Berger actually has the goods. We know what that offensive line is like. Iowa wanted to play football. Nebraska wants to get beat. Fine, whatever. I'm here for it. I like Nebraska. I like Nebraska when they are good, and I hope that they can be good. But losing J.D. Spielman to Texas Christian, don't know what Adrian Martinez is going to be, but my dude, Savion Morrison, is, I think, going to be one of your featured tailbacks coming out of Tulsa Edison. Dude put up over 3,000 yards rushing in one season of football. He's legitimately awesome, and I was mad that he didn't even get an offer from anybody in the state of Oklahoma. Like, I don't understand that. It's up there with Owen Ostrowski not getting an offer from Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, or Tulsa, where his father played football. And his father, is not only an All-American at Tulsa, he also played for 10 years in the NFL. And yet that dude doesn't get an offer. I don't understand it. But Owen committed to Army. I'm happy for him. And they're getting a hell of a football player. I tell people all the time, this dude is 6'2", 245, and runs like a deer. He is bigger than Steve Rogers was after he took the super serum. Love me some Owen Ostrowski. Now, to my pick about Alabama and Ohio State. Alabama does not have the sort of continuity that Ohio State has, but they have tremendous continuity, right? You return a bunch of the offensive line. Alex Leatherwood chose to opt out of perhaps being a first-round draft pick, right, to play at Alabama for one more year. You got Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith, and Najee Harris back. You got Patrick Surtain on the defense along with DJ Dale. Hope Christian Barmore can play. I expect Drew Sanders is going to be a stud, guys. Like, he's going to be awesome. Dylan Moses in the middle makes you good. I believe in Pete Golding. I wanted him to be the defense coordinator at Oklahoma. He accepted the job at Alabama, and after having to play 4 true freshmen in his front 7 at one point in the year, I think they're going to be so much better because they're getting the kind of reps that everybody else is getting this year last year. And you got Nick Saban as your head coach, who extended Steve Sarkisian and gave him a raise to over $2 million that makes him one of the highest paid head coaches, if he was one, in football. Because, there's only 10 or 12 dudes that make more money as head coaches than Steve Sarkisian makes as an offensive coordinator. And the Mac Jones experience is probably good. It's not as good as the Bryce Young experience. So it's kind of a Mitch Trubisky, Nick Foles kind of situation down there in Tuscaloosa. Not to say that Mac Jones is on par with Mitch Trubisky. That's all I'm saying. He's a way better quarterback than Mitch Trubisky, which tells you all you need to know about how bad Mitch Trubisky is. I don't know what Matt Nagy is actually waiting on to pull the trigger there, man. Because, good God, one guy won you a Super Bowl. The other dude can't even get out of his way. One guy won you a Super Bowl. The other guy's going to turn off all these televisions that are talking bad about me. I hate that. But I still am going to pick my pick of Alabama to win the national championship. I'll tell you why, Ohio State fans. Nick Saban's been doing this longer than Ryan Day. I understand Ryan Day is 17-1. I understand what Urban Meyer was able to accomplish at a time when, Nick Saban was still coaching. You also return guys that I really trust in that Southeastern Conference, and they have never, ever had to deal with the idea of not playing football. You didn't have opt-outs at Alabama. You had 2 at Ohio State. Now, that one of them we know wants to come back in Wyatt Davis. We'll see what happens with Sean Wade. But if those 2 opted out, you know that other players were thinking about it, which means that their minds weren't totally focused on playing football. Alabama's mind has been totally focused on playing football. Other reason I pick Alabama is the way that the SEC conference has scheduled itself without any outside games, right? Without risking COVID and trying to find ways to logistically schedule around it, is they built in some bye weeks here that can allow for you to miss games and make them up later, right? Big Ten is up against a wall, man. You're going to have teams that might miss 1 to 2 games, only play 6 of 9, right? That's going to hurt tremendously. You also really have to rely on Justin Fields to cook in a way that perhaps you didn't last year, because you had J.K. Dobbins rushing for 2,000 yards. Trey Sermon is good, but is he that good? We'll see. I understand that it's a talented offensive line. I understand that you return a bunch of guys from the offensive line. I also know that Alabama gets tested more in the SEC, even with this soft schedule, than the Big Ten does. And there's also to add this. Alabama has shown that they can beat Clemson. Even if Clemson has shown they can beat Alabama. Ohio State needs to get past Clemson. So if Ohio State's matched up against Alabama, which I would love in a playoff, that would be great, right? In a semifinal, I'm here for that. But Clemson is going, cool. Let Ohio State get out here. Every time they come up against us, they lose. Something you're just going to have to deal with until you get an opportunity to write it, and maybe that is this year. So while I am cagely still sticking with my Alabama pick from January, and I'm going to drop a link in the description below where you can watch that. I'm not going to be at all shocked if Ohio State wins a national championship. I'm just not. They're that stacked. That's why I want to see Alabama and Ohio State play football against each other in a playoff setting, because I really do think those are going to be the two best football teams in 2020. All right, that's it for me. Deuces.